Hey guys, this is Jay Calder from JAYONBOXING here giving you a personal prediction for Deontay Wilder versus Joseph Parker. And as always, this is just my take, of course. Your predictions can be left down in the comments section below. Would love to hear them all. And a little bit of fight info here. We have Wilder versus Parker as mentioned. It will be the co-featured bout for Anthony Joshua versus Otto Wallin at the Kingdom Arena in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, airing live on DAZN pay-per-view in the heavyweight division with no titles on the line. Well, in terms of all the combinations of heavyweight fights that you might have gotten this year, I didn't expect this fight for 2023. But, all things considered, I'm not complaining. Not the biggest fight to make it heavyweight, but it's a quality scrap, so that kinda counts. You have Wilder with all the power in the world in his right hand, and Parker with some toughness, some skill, and a solid chin, with perhaps the knowledge that this might be the last big chance of his career. Two former titleists, both with something to prove, and certainly adds to the kind of intrigue of this fight because of it. For Wilder, you want to prove you're still a major force in the division, and you're a threat to anyone that you might face, especially heading into a potential bout with Joshua in 2024. For Parker, you want to prove it's not over, and you still have more to offer by taking out the biggest name on your resume. So, who proves their point? Let's break this one down and find out. Starting off with Wilder. For Wilder to win, you want to keep the jab tight. It has to be loose, but it can't be lazy. What I mean by tight, however, is more about it just being straight, in a straight line, using it to push Parker back, not getting so lethargic with it and allowing it to go out there all loosey-goosey, if you will. You need to line up your shots well. You have a bad habit of cocking it back, and that defensive hand, when you do so, slips away, and you have to avoid that against heavyweights of any kind of level, but especially ones kind of getting nearer the top of the division. They can make you pay for it. Straight line with that jab. That's what you have to keep in mind, and stay guarded when you throw it. Again, keep it loose so you're not tiring, but keep it disciplined at the same time to allow it to set up your work correctly. Of course, the better the jab, the better you set up that right hand that could potentially end the fight in any instant. But you have to be able to do this by calculating how you're moving. This way, you're not being countered and potentially having yourself exploited in the process. I would also say stay off the ropes. Now, I'm doubtful Parker really tries to push you back too much. Sure, he's going to have to take some risks, but it's far too risky with your power to be coming forward the entire fight. That being said, you do like to circle and reset at times. And at times, you can do that in too straight a line and get caught up in those ropes, and that might be where Parker looks to try and gain an advantage. When that happens, that's when you run the risk of losing your two most important tools in this fight for me, your power and your reach. And that's when you might get caught. You don't want to give those away by leaning too far back on the ropes where you can't step into the power and where your reach is far less of an advantage to you because he's being allowed to step in. You want to circle away and not step back. This way you're not giving him any chances that he hasn't earned. And finally, kill his confidence. Now, Parker may or may not like his chances in this fight. That's up to him to decide, but you shouldn't stand around trying to wait and see what side of the aisle he falls on there. Kill it off instantly. You've been dropped before, you've lost a couple of times now. You don't want people trying to test that chin or your own mental toughness in this fight. You don't want him to grow into the fight. So you want to take control and make sure you're using that jab to really begin to tame him. Keep him out of reach. When you engage, it's because you want to, and it's to push him back and begin dropping some of your own bombs. You have to dictate the terms, the tempo, the pace, all of it in this fight. Keep him second guessing and then allowing for yourself to take the time to throw the right punches the right way to get him out of there. Now, switching over to Parker. For Parker to win, you want to counter the Wilder shots. No pun intended, of course, but Wilder does at times like to get a little bit overzealous and put too much into his blows. He has so much power, why wouldn't he? However, when he relies on that power and that reach and gets a little bit too wild, he can throw and leave himself exposed. Take advantage of those moments. His jab at times can also leave him open, as I mentioned, when he kind of drops that defensive hand. And a hook in that particular moment could certainly potentially catch him off guard if that defensive hand isn't tucked against that chin. If Wilder overreaches or extends, step to that side and look to land your bigger shots in those moments when he's out of position. Naturally, you don't want to trade. He has better power, he has more reach, but you do want to take the time to make sure you're exploiting his defensive lapses, and perhaps later in the fight, which we'll get to, when he tires, you'll be able to better have a chance of countering him and making him pay for the mistakes he might make. I would also say multiply the jab. You need to jab, and you have a decent jab that you'll throw out there from time to time, but you really need to throw it in multiples in this contest to be successful, in my opinion. You also need to vary that jab, throw it at different speeds, and double and triple it up at times. Just keep Wilder guessing and kind of in that straight line backwards that will allow for you to get better inside shots going and ultimately close the distance. If you have him stepping back, then leaning back and perhaps in the ropes, you have a better chance of stepping into your power and landing something meaningful. It could keep him from also engaging in those moments and take away those exchanges, which obviously I don't think favor you. And you can do this by simply throwing that jab in multiples, 2 times, 3 times, varying up that speed and pushing him back with it. And finally, get to the latter frames. While Wilder carries his power into those later rounds, you still have to try and extend the fight and tire him out a bit. His fresh power is just too much of a gamble, too undeniable. If he's at least a little more winded, you at least have a better shot. Why? Because the power might still be there, but the technique and the defensive elements will definitely begin to fade, and that's where you might see things pay dividends. If you have better potential openings to exploit because of it, and because you might be a bit more fresh and thus able to be a bit more disciplined yourself, you can land the more telling blows that have a better impact later in the contest. It will also allow you to build into the fight, get some more confidence going since you've had a couple of rough outings here and there as of late. You'll also score, potentially pick up some of those later, maybe more important frames. In general, because he does have more power, his fights are a little bit shorter, you tend to go a little bit deeper into contests, so you certainly have the experience there being fresher in those moments. You're going to look to try and play that to your advantage. Now, in terms of my pick here, while Parker is a big dude himself and can certainly crack a little bit, I think Wilder is the safer bet in this particular fight. I think Wilder starts out calm, flicking out that jab and looking to bust Parker up and push him back. While Parker may look to get brave and ultimately engage, Wilder will avoid the big stuff and tame his man with a few well-placed right hands. Parker will back up at this point after tasting much of that power, and Wilder steps in to kind of really press. The exchanges may come again, if out of desperation from Parker, and Wilder will get the better of them by dropping Parker with a right hand. Winner, Deontay Wilder via mid-fight stoppage, though wouldn't totally surprise me if it was a bit earlier. And in terms of the betting odds here, we have Wilder coming in at a pretty sizable favorite at a -650, with Parker coming in at a +405. Personally, don't love either odd. I mean, if you're kind of a long shot guy, Parker makes a little sense. You're getting 4-1 in a heavyweight bout. Again, anything can happen. You just never know. But a money line bet is just not something that I would really look into here. In terms of the over-under is where I get a bit more of my tension drawn. You have it set 6.5 rounds with both the over and under coming in at -115. To me, the under seems very compelling here. I think the set of 6.5 makes a lot of sense. It's kind of right where I would have predicted anyway. But I do think that this fight could potentially end a bit sooner. It's a heavyweight bout, and you have Wilder in there with the power that he has. He could step into something, potentially get caught himself, and certainly could detonate on Parker. So to me, the under makes a lot of sense with a small to, honestly, a mid-sized bet there. I do like that particular line, but in any event, those are your odds. And my prediction record as of this recording is 40-13 with 25 exact. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts, predictions, your bets on this one, so on and so forth. And of course, be sure to check out all the socials here. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. Be sure to visit JAYONBOXING.com for schedule, results, betting odds, rankings, grades, and more. And as always, until next time.